So we end up with this notion of our town, our kids. That brings us all together. And we start building, and we start dreaming of what should be happening. And God brings us together pretty conditionally. I come back in as committee chair. Oh, tell them how happy you were about that. I knew that was a big day for you.
So we had a committee chair in between. He was great, and he was moving out of town, and he says, he's like, hey, I just want you to know I've asked Eric Protzman to be the committee chair. And I was like, hold on, do I not have any at least say in what this looks like? I'm not quite sure if I'm ready for this. I'm not quite sure if we're really ready to take the helm together again. But I did say this. I was like, but if Eric and I could figure out how to work together, we could change the world. So we took a risk. I think we had a couple of initial conversations where we're like, all right, if we're gonna, I mean, and again, because we had this background where everything's on the table, we don't have to sugarcoat anything more. We had some really honest conversations of like, if we're gonna do this again, this is how it has to look. And which I really do think that honesty brought us on a new trajectory.
So that was our turning point, and what we decided was that the relationship, if you want to write something down today, write this down. The relationship between the area director and the committee chair can be argued, and we would argue, is the most important relationship in town for kids in Christ. The most important relationship in town for kids in Christ. If it goes extraordinarily well, people will line up between the two of you. Yeah. Not between, I mean, they will follow you. Yeah. They will ache to follow you. Andy and I love each other. I would no more say something about him behind his back. There's no possible way. I wouldn't do it. First of all, I love him. We're living in grace. We both still make mistakes. There's plenty of that. We don't blame each other. We don't get mad at each other. We're in love with each other. Okay? But I still wouldn't, because I would not sabotage this relationship so that anybody else in the community could feed off of that division. I won't let it happen. Andy won't let it happen. That's the turning point in the grace of God in this, is that we were brought together. Cannot be separated, and believe that relationship is central. Now, committee chairs. I want to talk to you. I am a fallen committee chair. I've messed it up horribly. I sat in rooms and felt bigger than, and why won't committee members do this and that, and they won't show up. I mean, I was just horrible. So that's why I pulled away. I went to a committee training once, and this is the moment I decided to pull away. Guy walks in, he goes, here's the way most committee meetings go. Hey, listen, I don't know how you're getting along with God, but that's really not my problem. We got a lot of work to do.
Sure.
I go, bust. Decided at that moment that I would make the most important thing that I did on committee, period. First of all, I quit, but that really wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing was that I would put the spiritual well-being of every committee member first and foremost above everything else, period, end of story. We would be a spiritual organization that might get some work done. That was the way that it was going to go. I had sullied it poorly enough that I didn't think I was the one that was going to be able to do that. It was in my heart to do that. Passed it off to someone with a real pastoral heart. And our great friend Jeff Baum did a wonderful job with that. And it became that. So can we go back to our list?
It's coming up.
All right. So I want to talk to the committee chairs. Actually, let's go talk. What do you want to talk about?
I can talk talk
You
about
want to
this.
talk about ownership and,
Yeah.
and community, or you want?
Well, I want to see our list again.
We've
We had a pretty good order.
deeply scripted this.
Although we haven't memorized our script.
We haven't.
It'll be up here.
Let's talk about ownership.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about ownership and then community, and let's go back and talk to the committee chairs, and you can yell at the area directors, and I'll yell at the committee chairs, okay?
Yeah. Gosh, when it comes to ownership, we've chosen to do something different. I think oftentimes in an area, you have this division of ownership that ends up being actually divisive, that ends up being this division of labor and division of responsibility that it just doesn't seem to work, especially didn't work for us. So we started something called, it was basically a co-ownership, which sounds like great on paper, but a lot of what we did is, we said, hey, we have adult work and we have kid work. I, as the area director, own kid work 60-40. Eric owns 40% of it. Eric owns adult work 60-40. And anything that happens in those places, I've had, this is the way it works out on paper, is that we have had conversations like, Eric, it's snowing outside, 60-40 conversation, should we cancel club tonight? You know, we're able to have these wonderful conversations about that. When it comes to adult work, we're able to have these conversations too, but it's this beautiful picture of partnership, and this picture of, gosh, when I get called on by the place we have club, and gosh, we left the place messy, and all of a sudden Eric hears about it because he's walking through the room, it's our problem. Eric doesn't come into my office and say, gosh, you really need to clean up the room a little bit better. He, in that moment, as my partner, addresses the situation on our behalf. This is beautiful. For me as a staff person, because I was fully expecting, like, oh, that was totally my bad. I'm the one who left the club room a mess. And I deserve to be reprimanded for it. And all of a sudden Eric walks in, like, it's our deal. We're gonna fix this. Tell me what we need, and then we'll figure this thing out. It's just been a beautiful picture of what it means. I mean, we kind of say that there's nothing you can do to divide us, and we're gonna get to that in a second, but there's nothing you can do to split us up, whether it's an issue or a success. There's nothing that can come at us that can separate us in regards to that.
There's no blame. I refuse to blame anybody. It's mine. Every issue in this area is mine, and every issue in this area is Andy's. And the reason you can't separate us is because there's no separation.
Yeah.
We have problems. We got plenty of problems. We can do a whole other seminar on problems. We got plenty of those. That is not the issue. The issue is if this relationship gets severed or gets rocked in any way, that's bad for kids in Christ.
Yeah.
That's bad for the community. And I love him, and I want him to succeed. We got stuff, we just go arm in arm at it.
Yeah.
I got a lot to bring to it. He's got a lot to bring to it. In our 60-40 deal, I can tell you, I negotiated the 40% in, because when you get told your input is not welcome in direct ministry, what it says, and this is where Jeff Huber and I got on this deal, is like, what I heard, in addition to what Jeff said, and what I often hear from staff is, we're the only ones equipped to do direct ministry. I'm going, that's an interesting, not that everybody's equipped to do direct ministry, but staff are not the only people equipped to do direct ministry. There's lots of people in town that do ministry. This is our town, these are our kids. I was told to stay out of direct ministry. I'm going, how am I told to stay out of direct ministry? You do the rest. I go, what's the rest? What's the rest? Banquet? Is that the rest? That's supposed to satisfy my soul. Direct ministry is direct ministry. Now, I'm not saying that everybody in my position, or every committee chair, or every adult in town can get there. And I'm already feeling area directors going, uh-oh, uh-oh. Don't worry, I'll get to you. I'll get to you. Andy will get to you too. Just make that note to explore with your area director, committee chairs, what would happen if we absolutely take this list of problems and we both own them, the two of us.
Yeah.
Not the whole committee, just the two of us. We completely own them. I will give my best to get those problems solved. He will give his best to get those problems solved. If they're not solved, we haven't solved them. If they're solved, we have solved them. Even if it falls in his 60-40 or my 60-40, it doesn't matter. I can tell you that 60-40 we put up, we thought it was brilliant. Anybody else think it's brilliant? Of course you do. I think it's brilliant. It has never mattered.
Yeah.
It has never mattered. There has
That's
not
true.
been a single decision in the year and a half that we've been doing this where it's like, okay, I got my 60.
Yeah, that's true.
It's never once happened. It hasn't even come close. We have not had an argument in a year and a half. We have not had a raised voice. I don't even feel attention. I feel the light of Christ in this relationship. I feel this is the way that God intends us to be in running our mission.
Yeah.
This lonesomeness comes about in a couple of ways. The adults saying, sure, you got a big red S on your chest and you're gonna come save our kids, go do it. But area directors can protect themselves too, can't they?
Well, I mean, the language that we're given, again, we love our organization, but the language we're given is kind of a helper language. It's a language that, I think it's actually in the handbook.
Did you hand out the committee handbook today?
We have PDF of it, we can share it certainly.
Can we put it up and like blow it up?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, but we get this helper language where, and it's a little bit the part of our culture where the committee, the verbiage we hear in our culture, whether verbally or non-verbally, is that the committee's there to help the area director succeed. And we've found that like that is it kind of takes the wind out of the sails of someone like Eric, who gosh, like he has high potential. And honestly, I have only so much capacity. I can't succeed in this 95-5 relationship where I take all of it and I just kind of direct all you guys to do what you're going to do. All you highly capable adults, you guys do what I say because I know what I'm talking about. And if you don't want to do it, then, hey, ultimately I have the authority. It all falls on me. I'm the one who goes and reduces salary if we go into deficit. So you guys honestly just need to kind of bow beneath my authority. And we just found that gosh, that and again, we as staff use that as a protective thing. Like, hey, like ultimately, I'm the one who has to pay for it with my paycheck if we don't raise our salary or raise our budget. So gosh, ultimately in the day, guys, I'm the one who's responsible. So with that logic, we keep our committee chairs at an arm's length. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but I think all of us have probably had that, at least that thought or that posture and that mentality. Maybe we don't know that we're kind of keeping everybody at an arm's length, but we do impose our authority and say, the buck stops with me.
And the committee chair manual instructs us as adults in the community to be helpers, to assist your area director in any way you can, and the area director will make all the important decisions. And area directors, Andy kept me at bay, some area directors keep other people at bay. They want them in when they want them in, they want them out when they want them out. They don't really want this, but you get somebody to blame. Committee's going, I'm just not that happy with my area director. They're just not doing that good a job. They need to be doing more. The area director's going, give me a break. They told me they'd help me. They're not really helping me. And we have someone very convenient blaming Satan is just doing cartwheels. Absolutely doing cartwheels. God is just exactly where he wants us. Not in too high attention, just kind of this way. And we can go back and forth blaming each other. And in that is death of the mission, it's death of the staff, it's death of the adults in the community. Lonesomeness, I don't know, you can't hire your way out of this problem. Meanwhile, we all know people in our communities that are extraordinarily talented. They have so much to bring. And if they're told, just be a helper, they're not interested. And so the area director goes, they're just not interested. Oh my gosh, this is a train wreck. This is a disaster. Area directors, you are protecting yourself from nothing but lonesomeness. You're just getting lonesomeness. When you decide to tell the adults in the community, when you decide to take control and stop them because A, your organization has said you can do that, and you should do that because there's really reckless adults out there, and there are, and we can talk about that. But you are given the license to protect. And I want you to think about and pray about what that protection has gotten you. And I'm gonna submit to you that that protection has gotten you really lonesome. And it is the relationships in your community. Not when you get together in a room like this and, hey, it's great to see another area director, and let's have lunch and let's complain about this and that, it's really rough and the whole thing. No, you need it in our communities. We are a community. We're brought together as a community. You wanna talk about community a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, we stumbled upon this book called Life Together. You know, if you haven't heard of it, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, incredible book you should all read, especially chapter 2. Read anything else, just read chapter 2. But it talks about this idea of community, and we just realized that, gosh, the lifeblood, the joy, the fulfillment that comes with being a part of the church, Big C, gosh, the organization Young Life is the community. I mean, gosh, the life that comes from being with people who have a like mind, a like heart. Gosh, maybe they even have a heart for Christ and kids in our town and our kids. Gosh, what does it look like to facilitate, to build a community that is that? We just have found that man, as we invite this community into this vision of our town and our kids, we see time and time again as people are like, we want to be a part of this. We want to be joined with you, especially when they see, I mean, I'm pretty sure people get annoyed with me because most conversations I'm having, I somehow end up talking about Eric in that conversation. But we have some significant folks, some high capacity folks that because they saw this unity between Eric and myself, this marriage type relationship where like, gosh, like we're committed to one another. These high capacity folks have seen enough just messed up boards, messed up organizations, but when they see the two men at the top, I guess you could say, who are united, who gosh, don't sneak in little snide comments about like, gosh, like, but he's actually kind of weird in this way, or man, he really let me down this way. But gosh, when they see that, I mean, Eric's right, the community just gravitates towards it. And we've been really blown away by not only just the kids who've been impacted, but the adults who have started to be impacted because they see something with us that they want in, and they want more of it.
So we come to this community part and back to this most important relationship. So we've been 1.5 years into this. It's Hurricane Matthew, I think.
Goes to the screen too.
We're 1.5 years into this. We supposed that if we could tie ourselves together this closely, that the community would want to follow us. We supposed that. We're 1.5 years into it. It's absolutely true. We're not talking people into taking jobs on committee. We're not people. Their hearts are there, their wallets are there, their desire to help is there. We can. You don't send a text and ask somebody to do something.
Yeah.
Except for we're so close to people, we can. We know these people well enough. They want to do it. They want to pitch into this particular community. It is growing like crazy. This is the heart of Christ that has put this together. Jesus is at the center of it, and it is everything that I ever dreamed. I have no founder's dilemma whatsoever.
Like you say, Eric, our job is really, because Christ creates it, Christ facilitates it, but it's our job to not screw it up.
So here's what Bonhoeffer says about community. Here's what Bonhoeffer says about community. Here you've got this guy in a town, let's just use this guy for instance, who has a view of what community should be. We're all around, we're all loving each other. The vision of that community belongs to that guy. And he shares, a good 30-40% of it with the rest of the group. He thinks he's sharing it all. He shares 30-40% of it with the rest of the group. And then that group starts to fail in doing the community that he envisioned. You know, I'm working my tail off to put this community together, and I really thought you'd have a little more to give, Larry. I did, and I'm kind of disappointed. And you're going, well, you're a jerk. Bonhoeffer says, community is not something to be created. It is a gift of Christ in which we may participate. If we try to create it, it automatically fails. The conceiver of it is God, not me. When I conceive of it, you immediately set foot letting me down. And I immediately become an overlord of this thing that becomes at least unattractive. What we are working to do through prayer, through our deep friendship, through our deep relationship, is to understand how do we get out of the way of community? How do we just let that happen? It's not really the subject we're here for, but it is part of what we're doing. We have this marriage. If you are thinking of the relationship between the committee chair and the area director as a partnership, I think you're toast. I think you're toast. That talks about accountability, it talks about what you're gonna do by Thursday, it talks about all this, it's a pretty dry transactional deal, or at least it can be. In your marriage, I don't know about you, it wouldn't work really well in my house to list out a bunch of things that I need to see done by Thursday. I mean, there are a bunch of things that need to be done by Thursday, but I don't think putting a list up there is probably the best idea. I get some lists, and I need them, but I don't think it's a really good way to do it, and we don't do it that way. But Andy, I think, let's talk about two things. Let's talk about how we meet, and then let's talk about if you're a committee chair going, great. I was out of the room when I became committee chair, okay? I didn't sign up for this. Frankly, I don't even know if I love my area director that much. I don't even know if I could. It's great. It sounds like you're spending a whole lot of time, and all of a sudden, this is great for you guys in Evergreen, Colorado, but it's not gonna work for me.
I mean, when we, typically we meet during the school year, and it's a once a week deal. Although we probably actually talk most days. But one of the key things, whether we're talking daily like we did this summer, or we're talking on a weekly basis, one of the first things we talk about is what are you afraid of? Because I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there's times where you are woken up in the middle of the night by something that's making you anxious. You are, whether you're committee chair or staff, you are, gosh, you can't get your mind off of something that's like, gosh, like for example, right now, real life, Eric and I have a banquet that is slowly registering, much slower than we want. And there's been times where I'm like, I give Eric a text or a call. I'm like, Eric, I woke up last night and I'm afraid that our banquet's going to fail. And so there's no, like, Eric's not going to swoop in and tell me what to do and tell me how to fix it. I mean, it's like we own that together. And that, for right now, for us, it looks like a lot of dust in the air. Like we're working hard together.
We don't at this moment really have it solved.
We don't. We're still working on it, guys. We'll let you know in a couple weeks. But I would say for me, the freedom that comes from knowing that I don't have to like fudge my numbers. I don't have to fudge things that are failing because I need to impress Eric. That I can come into a meeting and be like, gosh, this part of our ministry is really tanking. You know, it really gives me some anxiety. Or hey, like this is, you know, we had this conversation last week and I told you I was going to do this. I just didn't. I wasn't able to do it. I mean, there's total freedom in that conversation. Like, what are you afraid of? Eric sometimes comes in the meetings with stuff that he's afraid of, or typically those are things, those movies that are playing in his mind of, okay, so I think this is what I think is happening, you know, and it doesn't sound very good and it doesn't feel very good. Is this actually what is happening in our organization? So he gives me room and he gives me space to acknowledge some of the assumptions that he has. And that's a commitment that Eric and I had from the very get-go when we had that serious conversation when we first started this relationship again, was that, gosh, if we're going to do this again, there cannot be assumptions. There cannot be, as I learned the hard way, there cannot be these movies that play in our minds that we let be there. So if those things start up, if we start having assumptions about each other, that we have committed to each other, we're going to have those conversations really quickly and bring those into the open. And it's been beautiful. I mean, probably the reason why we haven't had any arguments over the last year, which is, again, surprising based on our history. But it's because we've nipped these things from the very get-go. You know, Eric brings up a concern, which is starting to build up. We have a conversation about it. And either
roll up our sleeves.
We roll up our sleeves. or it ends up being a non-issue because he just misunderstood something, or vice versa. And so, I mean, there's total freedom in our times together because we just get to address those fears, and to the point now where we'll kind of, one of us will drop that question in one of our meetings, say, "What are you afraid of?" And we're like, "Gosh, I gotta really think about that." Is there?
I'm afraid we're not gonna have enough leaders for the fall.
Exactly.
It's like, I really am afraid of that. And then it's not, and nothing in my body feels like, so you better go get them.
Exactly.
Nothing, it's just like, we gotta have them. If these kids are gonna have relationships with a volunteer leader that's gonna go into their life and care about them, we gotta have them. We gotta, and so we had a get real conversation, which was, we've spent 5 years talking about how important leaders are, and we really haven't done very much.
Yeah.
We really haven't done very much. We've hung up some flypaper and hoped they'd come by. But we have not done enough to where we can say, Lord, I'm spent. I've done everything that I can think of. We just haven't. We're starting to now, and you know what? Leaders are coming. They're really coming. And they're the kind of leaders that want to invite other leaders. Something's getting extremely healthy. Andy, would you tell this group, because there's a group here that's thinking, oh my gosh, this is gonna take a lot of time. How much do you value my time for partnership? What?
Yeah.
Because you're on staff and you're paid to do this stuff,
Sure.
right? Okay.
I mean, I would say, Eric and I were talking about this, I mean, I value Eric's relationship far more than the time that he gives. It is something like, you know, for example, this summer, we just said, hey, our schedules are all crazy, let's just try and talk 15 minutes a day. Most days that happened, some days it didn't. But there's a piece of it, like us engaging in our partnership, whether it's a once a week or or an everyday scenario. Gosh, I mean, that is what's valuable to me. Me having a place where I could share. Gosh, we gotta get this banquet stuff figured out. We gotta get some dust in the air, and have my partner, to have Eric be like, yes, let's do it, and to have that. I mean, I know that I'm walking through life. I know I'm walking through my job. I know I'm walking through just the vastness of what we're called to do as area directors, and I have someone who, one, understands it. I know that's so valuable to us as staff, is that, gosh, if you're gonna have input and you're gonna have say in what we do and you're gonna be a partner with me, please, please, please come understand what this world looks like. And a lot of that has to do with expressing your fears. A lot of that has to do with being honest about, this thing's going awesome, this thing's not going awesome, and not giving some glossed up Photoshop picture of what's going on.
2 comments and we'll open it up for questions. If you're a committee chair, I'm just gonna assume you're making the big bucks. I don't know, maybe you're making 75, maybe you're making 200, maybe you're making $500,000 a year. Obviously, your time is valuable. And if you're like me somewhere in my past, you are aware that your time is more valuable than that of the area director. I'd like to invite you to say, kids and Christ, your time is not more valuable than the area directors. I don't care how much you make. I don't care how much responsibility you have. I don't care how many employees you have. Your time is not more responsible or is not more valuable than that of your area director. You have 15 minutes a day with someone that you trust to go over, what are you thinking about? What are you afraid of? What are we working on today? What's not going the way we thought it should? 15 minutes a day makes a world of difference. You guys know, all of you men and women know, when you're doing an operational thing, the more frequently you get together, the more clear what it is you're trying to get done is, and the more you're doing it, the faster things happen. Getting together once a month for a committee meeting, I'm here to tell you, it won't work. You know that by the time you get together again, everybody's forgotten everything. You gotta bring them up to speed, so the only thing that really happens is the committee chair and the area director make all the decisions, and the committee sits in there going, that's what we're supposed to do, and wonder why they're not challenged. Okay? That's that. And the second thing that I want to talk about is talent. I had convinced myself that this guy didn't have very much talent. I needed to replace him with somebody that had some real talent. You can put somebody in a closet long enough and not water and not give them enough light, and you don't see who God made them to be. This man is incredibly talented. I did all I could to not see it. He's incredibly resourceful. I'd hear that from people, I go, you don't know him like I know him. And they were right, and I was right. They knew him and I didn't. There's tremendous talent in the staff, and we were called by God to go into ministry. I believe that as committee chairs, as people on town, our kids, we owe our staff everything. We owe them everything to keep them from being lonesome. And area directors, you owe it to yourself and to your town. Don't hold us at bay. We ache for our kids. Let us ache for you and let us ache for your community. That's the end of the comments that we've got. We're happy to take any questions that you have, and we're honored to be here.
When you're talking about sharing the 60-40, what does that look like for your committee chair, having 40% of kids direct ministry still?
I mean, again, it's kind of an arbitrary number we kind of put out there.
But it was significant.
But it's
not,
significant.
I mean,
It's
we wanted to
absolutely
get it out of the,
I mean, it's, Eric, I mean, you know, compared to what the comments I made to him, you know, during our dark period, Eric has full weight in our conversations about direct ministry. A lot of that has come through, I mean, over the last year and a half, we've built a ton of trust in regards to, gosh, just our relationship and his input and me allowing him in. At the same time, I don't feel like I've lost any control per se. In fact, I've gained a friend to do it with. So when we have conversations, like right now, we got this club room and this gym at this high school that we're like, gosh, we gotta figure out the acoustics in here. What do you think we should do? And so it's really, he becomes a partner in what it looks like for us to do direct ministry. So that's what I'd say. I mean, it really doesn't, I feel like I've gained something then lost something. I think sometimes we believe the lie that like if we start giving control to someone else, that we start to lose control of something that's so precious to us. And gosh, I mean, I found the opposite.
and I would add to that, you have to go earn the right to be heard with the committee chair, and the committee chair's gotta go earn the right to be heard with an area director. And trust gets built the way trust gets built.
Yeah.
Thin layer on thin layer on thin layer. You don't jump into anything like that unless that trust is built. But I believe that the key to that is, first of all, to drop to our knees in prayer and to say, this is the most important relationship in town. And like a marriage, you will be home at midnight, we say to our daughter, right? And I'm going, I think she can stay till 1. And it's like, where do we have that conversation? We go over to the bedroom and go, come on, you know? And we come out united. Turns out she can come home at 12:30, okay? That'll be fine, okay? That's the way you do it. That's the way you do it. When you see this relationship, if you have your disagreements while you're building trust, we have a complete commitment to our community and to our kids. This is not about us. We let it be about us, Satan's thrilled. So we build all that trust. It precedes your question,
Yeah.
right? Make sense? It precedes the question. It can't be thrown on top, hey, I love you and I trust you.
Yeah.
That can't be the case. It takes what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Does that get your question?
It could be that this question could take hours to answer it. If it does, then refer me to a book maybe or something. But you started out with the priority of spiritual well-being within the committee. And when we focus on that, the other things will come to be. But your thoughts on that? How did you begin to develop that without, was it accepted or was it welcomed? And if not?
Well, two things. If it's not accepted and not welcomed, you have people that roll off. And then you start bringing people in that want that. An image you can use here is you want to make the best small group you've ever had.
Yeah.
Okay? It should feel like a great small group. If people are not up for small groups, then they're not up for it. If they are, I have to say, we are all so ravenous for community.
Yeah.
we're also ravenous to be fed spiritually. We so often, that's what I saw in the regional board chair role, so many of these committees, I talk to committee chairs and they're going, it's just not working. People, you know, if they don't show up for a month, then they're 2 months out, and then they really don't know what's going on. When we ask them to do something, they don't seem very enthusiastic about it. But, you know, if I'm not mistaken, the people you're talking about are running banks and they're coaching kids in soccer and they're enthusiastic around town, and you're blaming them because they don't have enough energy for committees. Like, wait a minute. There could be something fundamentally, structurally incorrect about the way we're doing it. Those of you that have led organizations, if you see a problem here, here, and here, you know it's not the people. You've got something larger than that. And so that, going after that, it's like, this is fantastic. How does it work in practice? I buy 1,000 cups of coffee a year. I'm a natural networker. I want to sit with people. My favorite thing is sit down and ask somebody their story and build relationships. Don't make the distinction that we often make. We draw a line at about 24 years old. If you're below that line, we will spend time with you one-on-one because that's what we do in young life. We build relationships, we earn the right to be heard. But if you're above that line, we'll get you in a room as a group. When I'm just an 8-year-old boy, I crave friendships. I crave to be loved. And I don't get loved. I mean, this is great. None of us are forming a relationship here today. It all gets done one-on-one over a cup of coffee, and then you come together as a group, and there's all this magic is here. This is great for transferring information, but it's not great. This is not a community that's being built here. It's a desire for one.
And I think that what Eric and I talk about a lot is a lot of this looks very inefficient, and we've come to love that word. Granted, we know that there needs to be an organizational efficiency that enables us to be efficient or inefficient. But it is, gosh, for us to sit down for coffee and not have an agenda, for us to build in time to talk about Jesus into our committee meetings in a way that is very small groupish. For us to throw a party every quarter that is purely for community. You know, we don't ask for money, we don't ask for volunteers. It's really, we want to get community together. I mean, there's something about this inefficiency that is where this magic happens. And granted, again, please know that I know that there has to be efficiency somewhere in this organization for us to actually do stuff. But gosh, for us to figure out how to navigate that and to do that dance of making sure we're efficient over here and inefficient over here, especially when it comes to relationships, I think is absolutely key. And that's where all of a sudden the people who are coming in, the adults who are coming in, who are starving, who are having a crisis of faith, who are just kind of numb to the Lord, all of a sudden they begin to get ministered to because we're willing to be inefficient with them.
Area directors and committee chairs, we're all parts of an organization where we want to drive efficiency. We're Americans, we live in Western culture, that's what we want, that's what we crave, that's what we preach. Efficiency in administration, efficiency in organization, get your work done so you can get out on the street and be as inefficient as possible with your relationships. I've got an idea. If anybody knows anybody at the top of the organization, I think we should put out a magazine. I think we should call it Relationships. I think it would sort of be emblematic of what we're supposed to be doing.
I can make that happen.
Can you make
that?
Viewers on. That's awesome.